one society, one right. The Constitution of the Republic of Armenia states, "The human being, his dignity, and fundamental human rights and freedoms are supreme values."
On the one hand, we confirm that discrimination must be rejected, or that the dignity of a human being is a supreme value. On the other hand, the question as to whether this person is a human being or not is still being debated.
Discrimination is the recurring and systematic rejection of those individuals or groups who are different due to any trait, or who have another opinion or viewpoint. It is extremely easy to neglect human rights when a person is regarded as alien, foreign, deficient, or incomplete.
Discrimination is a distinguishing approach towards individuals without any objective basis. They don't accept you because you are you. You are who you are, and not someone they are familiar with or want to see.
If there is discrimination, an intolerant attitude, then society faces serious problems. And the opposite is true. Societal values, as a rule, are appreciated when discrimination and intolerance do not exist.
That society has become evil and, in a sense, dangerous.
The very impermissibility of discrimination is at the core of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 1 of which states, "All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights."
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a legal act that offers guidance. Those countries that have followed that guidance have significantly decreased discrimination in their societies. Those countries that have sought to accept people as they are have made great strides forward, and it is not coincidence that those countries are also role models for us.
How is discrimination manifested? It is often imperceptible, sometimes visible, sometimes direct, sometimes indirect. Sometimes it is pervasive, and in some cases, personalized. That's to say, it is carried out by individuals or concealed groups. There is infrequent discrimination, and there is recurring discrimination. Discrimination can be insignificant and of a trivial nature, for instance, in the form of a joke or verbal barb. But it can also be serious and planned. In all cases, it causes psychological, material, and physical damage to those subjected to discrimination.
Frequently, people do not know what discrimination is or how it's expressed. This too is a problem. The main reason for discrimination is the absence of the understanding that people have a right to be different.
Let's give a few examples to show that no one is immune from discrimination. National minorities. Some 1.34 billion Chinese live in China. When a group of Chinese people relocate to another country, they become a national minority. There are some 4 million Chinese living in Russia, more than the Armenians living in Armenia. But in Russia, with a population of 146 million, 4 million Chinese are considered a minority. Are they safe from discrimination? Not always, and not in all countries. In places where anti-discrimination laws don't work, you can be Chinese, Armenian, French, or a Yakut. It doesn't matter. As a member of a national minority, you can be subjected to discrimination. Armenians comprise 98% of the population of Armenia. The remaining 2% are Yazidis, Russians, Assyrians, Greeks, and others. These people are first and foremost citizens of Armenia.
Խտրականությունը մեր երկրում համակարգված բնույթ չի կրում ազգային փոքրամասնությունների նկատմամբ։ Խտրականությունը կոնկրետ ազգային փոքրամասնությունների դեպքում դիտվում է ավելի ցածր մակարդակներում, այսինքն այն մակարդակներում, որտեղ քիչ է հսկողությունը, որտեղ խտրականության վերաբերյալ ինֆորմացիա չկա։
Sex discrimination, or sexism. People can argue that this is a fabrication. What's sexism? They'll say 10% of parliament members are women. Two ministers are women. The number of women teachers and instructors outstrips men. They'll say the number of women working in the health field is substantial. Naturally, women don't drive taxis or buses, but they are represented in the legal system. So they'll say, where's the discrimination? Let's say you get married and raise a family. Your wife wants to work. She goes to various companies looking for a job and sends her CV noting her professional skills. They call her in for an interview. Knowing that she just got married, they refuse to give her a job. They say, no, we can't hire you because you'll soon have children. We'll have to pay you for maternity leave and so on. Isn't this discrimination? Yes, it is. Because they don't refuse men for the same reason. This is just one example. But there are many cases where an employer prefers to hire men, thinking that it's easier to make men work extra hours. It's hard to send women on long-term work assignments. Women retire at an earlier age. Nevertheless, women and men are equal, according to the Constitution of the Republic of Armenia. Age discrimination, or ageism. One encounters this form of discrimination almost daily. We constantly come across announcements in the city streets, in the newspapers, on television and the internet, where employers are looking for workers not older than 30, younger than 40, who are good-looking and competent. Picture for a moment that your aunt or uncle, who just celebrated their 40th or 50th birthday, is looking for a job. They are competent and have positive human traits. But each time they encounter such announcements, they feel maligned and rejected. Of course, playing football, flying an airplane, and other work requiring physical strength and attention aren't usually trusted to those of a certain age. But your aunt can be a great manager, and your uncle a skilled boiler installer, if they hadn't turned 45 or 50 a mere few days ago.
Happy birthday!
Individuals with disabilities.
When I walk around the city and see a new building, a new cafe, or store that I cannot enter, I realize that such places aren't for me.
All of us can have a disability or acquire one, even those of us who never thought of such a possibility. One day you're casually walking down a street and a tragic accident occurs, changing your life forever. You are now confined to a wheelchair and start to notice all the inconveniences that surround you that you hadn't noticed previously. There are no wheelchair ramps. How will you get to work? There are problems regarding the inaccessibility of public transportation, all the way to integrating oneself into society. And we won't even mention the indifference and scornful stares of the people around you.
Այլ ավելի ասուր կարծեմ դրսևորված խտրականություն է
Discrimination is manifested even more sharply towards individuals with mental issues and learning difficulties. Because if, for example, a degree of tolerance is shown towards someone using a wheelchair, or who has sight and hearing problems, in these cases, people aren't afraid to simply turn their back on such individuals and to even ridicule and call them names.
Պարզապես մերժել, ավելին հաճախ ծաղրի ենթարկել կամ պիտակավորել.
Sexual minorities. Discrimination towards sexual minorities is even more prominent. Individuals in such groups are forced to go into hiding, to live in secret, to live apart, because they always encounter problems in almost all fields, whether dealing with society at large or state institutions.
All cases are justified by the government. In other words, the government sponsors homophobia in Armenia.
A survey was conducted in 2011 in which 97% of respondents said that homosexuality was deviant behavior. 72% of respondents said their attitude toward such individuals was negative. 70% believed that such individuals should be publicly condemned. 55% said they would cut contact with a friend, acquaintance, or relative if they found out the person was a homosexual.
From a legal perspective, sexual minorities are exempt from any type of defense, and there is no law in Armenia that allows them to obtain their rights.
Laws complement the Constitution. If the Constitution states that the human being, his dignity, and the fundamental human rights and freedoms are supreme values, then the law cannot stand in contradiction to this. The problem is that Armenia generally doesn't have laws banning discrimination and a legal body ensuring equality.
There are laws that defend certain rights, but experience shows that this isn't sufficient. There must be laws that prohibit manifestations of discrimination. There is a need for a law banning discrimination so that there's a legal statute serving as a restraining mechanism. And a body ensuring equality must be created so that this mechanism works.
Of course, it would be great if the supreme values declared in the Constitution were also a part of the public consciousness. Given that, as yet, this isn't the case, it is necessary to draft a law banning discrimination, establish a special body ensuring equality, familiarize the public with this law and discuss the defense mechanisms envisaged by it, and establish a working system to record evidence of discrimination and to compensate individuals or groups who have suffered from discrimination. Only in this case will we have a harmonious society in which there is no us versus them, a society in which all live according to the code of one society, one right.